Okay, so welcome everyone to this global session on world peace. And it's a very important issue, as we all know. If we've been watching the news, we know that the world is becoming more and more unpeaceful every day. We had this wonderful opportunity to do a group session very similar to this, but this was a live session in Sao Paulo in Brazil. And we were doing a session on the subject of slavery, which is actually a kind of a big issue in Brazil even today, because there are so many different cultural differences in the people that were enslaved during the Atlantic trade period. And that is still sort of bubbling up to the surface today. And what came out of that, I just wanted to share, is that at the end of the day, the heart gave us this positive statement that said that we honor our personal freedom and our creativity, and we also honor the freedom and the creativity of others. And I just thought that was so beautiful, because when we honor our own personal freedom and our own creativity and give that same respect to other people, then how can we not have world peace? And after that session on slavery, we ended it with a session on world peace for the group, just basically what we're doing now. We had about 37, 40 people in the group. And we were all amazed that the unmet heart need in that session was freedom from confinement. Wow. Yeah. And so I think this idea of confinement is really a big one. Someone said that patriotism is the root of all war, because we tend to think that, well, this is my tribe, this is our tribe, and we're protecting ourselves against all the other tribes. And in reality, we are all on the same tribe of planet Earth. So then I asked myself, well, we want to do a session for world peace, and then the people that joined the session, well, they're already wanting world peace. So how do we accomplish world peace with this sort of, with this method or this system, unless we get all the people on board that are part of the problem, right? And so I don't know how we do that, but it feels like every time I participate in a session on world peace, I discover that there's a piece of what comes up that is still a resonance with myself. So it feels like world peace starts with each person. And we all have these resonances that come from maybe from ancestral issues. Who knows where they come from, but it's like we need to fine tune our vibration for world peace so that we can help be that solution to world peace. So it's people like you that I really respect, that you take the time to come and join and you want to do the work on world peace, because even if we just start with 7 or 8 people at a time, I'd like to do this once a month or more often than once a month, and hopefully we can get it to grow. Wouldn't it be great if we had everybody on the planet on the same call? Right? I mean, how can we have a problem? Yeah, and so it's really about, I think, honoring each other's need for that creative space. And if we have a conflict, then I like this idea of nonviolent communication, where we can actually do a session, a Scalar Heart Connection session around any conflicts, because it seems like the problem comes from when we overstep our bounds, or when our desire for freedom impinges on somebody else's freedom. And I think that's where we need to learn how to work those kinds of things out without bazookas and assault weapons. And so it's my hope that we can open up our heart to be receptive and compassionate and tolerant of other people. And I love the word honoring other people's right to freedom and to their own creativity. So I'm going to switch over to this share screen, and hopefully you'll be able to see this. I think it takes just a second to come up.
Well, we were talking about Christ the other night, so I don't feel like excluding that in any way.
I'd like to hear it.
Yeah.
You can, of your own, you can try
It
it.
almost came up.
Okay, can everybody see that?
It's now up.
It's now up. Good. That was scary.
Yeah.
There it is. And so the session is a group session, and the age, I just picked 4,000 years because I thought, well, that's a good age for what we think of as civilization. It's probably much older than that, but let's just start there. And the city is the Earth, and we don't really have a state. I wish I had an option for the Earth instead of the United States. But so the issue is world peace. So if we could just take a moment and just clear our thoughts, just maybe do a figure eight, just a couple of figure eights, so we can sort of integrate the left brain with the right hemisphere. Remembering to breathe in very deep, so we integrate the neurotransmitters, the neuropeptides from the brain, coordinating and syncing with our heart. And I'm going to ask the group to ask their heart to show them a number 1 through 7. And I'd like to start with Lisa Marie.
I did 3.
You did 3. I saw that on the chat. It was really interesting. So around the issue of world peace, it's in the heart, in the throat. And the throat chakra is about creative expression. I was just talking about our creativity and our expression of creativity. And so that has a quantum healing code archetypal pattern of the vibration of 639. And so I just want to read sort of what that archetypal pattern represents. It represents that the issue around world peace is one of mental health or a sense of well-being, which can arise from our mental brain thinking and conditioning that judges ourselves and judges others. So that's where we're looking at our tribe, comparing it to another tribe, we're being critical or we're judging that somehow we're not safe. And so we're called to realize that we don't have anything to prove and that we are all connected to the divine. So that is beautiful, and that's the vibration that I would like to sort of enhance in myself. And what we need to know is around the issue of world peace and in the throat chakra, what is the specific emotion that is a little bit... So Kathleen, can you give us a number? Ask your heart to show you a number 1 through 4.
I go back between 3 and 4, but I think 4 is stronger.
Okay. So 4 is the sense of grief. So grief is sadness. I know I've had a lot of sadness about the world events. There's been a lot of needless killing. So we're still gathering information. So let's ask our heart, what is our mind thinking? What is the programming that goes on behind our mind that keeps perpetuating this sense of non-world peace? If Laura, can you ask your heart to show you a number 1 through 9?
Five.
And 5 is I am silenced. So I was also talking about non-violent communication. And there's something in here where we feel that we're silenced. And so let's make a note of that, and let's ask our heart, what is the positive message? How should we be approaching this idea of world peace from a place of heart consciousness? So Leanne, can you ask your heart to show you number 1 through 10?
7.
And 7 is I speak and communicate my truth from my heart. And that would be just a beautiful place to come from when we are trying to resolve border disputes or other trade disputes that we might be having. And so what we need next is there's something in the lungs. And so in the lungs, we want to find out, lungs is where traditionally in Oriental medicine, they consider that the emotion of grief resides in the lungs. So let's ask the lungs specifically, what is the positive message that we need to embrace from the lungs? And Maria Elena, could you ask your heart to show you number 1 through 10? And I'm not sure she's still there. So I'm going to go to Carolyn. Carolyn, are you still there?
Yeah.
Yeah, can you?
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I'm here. I was in mute. So, can you hear me?
Yes. Can you ask your heart to show you number 1 through 10?
I had 8.
Okay. So prosperity flows to me and through me. Now, if we all embrace that vibration, then there wouldn't be any reason to be waging war on somebody else because of their resources. It's trusting that we are provided for and that we're all provided for. So let's see what level, the level that this unresolved issue is being held on. Maria Elena, I think I just saw you come back.
Yes.
Yes, can you ask your heart to show you number 1 through 5?
I was the person who chose the 8, by the way. So then maybe Caroline can go. Do you want me to go again?
Yes, Carolyn. Yeah. Could you ask your heart to show you number 1 through 5?
Are you talking to me, Caroline?
Carolyn, yes.
Yeah. In reference to the lungs?
Yes. Well, now we're looking at the level that this is being held on.
Okay, what's coming up is 4.
Okay. So what that tells us is that this issue for today on World Peace is very much on the energetic level. And so we need to know what is the energetic level specifically that we're dealing with. And Lisa Marie, can you ask your heart for a number 1 through 6?
6.
So it's connection to another person or a group that's causing the same problem.
Oh, wow.
That is really good. So that's what I was saying. It's like if we could just respect each other as, we all come from different tribes. I think of like the Cherokee Nation was a nation of, 200 or more different tribes. But they all work together as one entity. And somehow we have created these borders that we don't allow ourselves to connect on that level with other groups and other people. So let's see if we can find out from the heart, what is the early experience? What happened in this evolution of humanity that started this whole thing in the first place? And that's a pretty big question, I know, but let's just, for fun, see what the heart tells us. So, Laura, can you ask your heart to show you number 1 through 4?
One.
So 1 says it's a genetic ancestral family conditioning. So that would be a really interesting thing to do a family constellation with. And we found in Brazil, they're very much, this is actually a whole community of people that do family constellation. And we were utilizing Scalar Heart Connection and family constellation together. And so when we came up to an earlier experience that was specifically genetic ancestral, then we would just pause and do a family constellation. And it was very, very powerful. We don't have really the tools to do that right now on a webinar. So let's see if we can identify some more specifics of this genetic ancestral issue with the number 1 through 3, Leanne.
2.
So this is something that's coming up, not on the mother's side, not in the father's side, but it's ancestral. It's something in the family tree. So if, Carolyn, can you ask your heart to show you number 1 through 4?
3.
This will be very interesting because it's saying that it's something that is on the ancestral of the mom's dad's side. So it's something in the matriarchal. And, you know, if you go back, maybe I consider like 1,000 years before, like would be 3,000 years ago, there seemed to have been a split between the patriarchal and the matriarchal. And so here we are on the mom's side, but it's the mom's dad's side. And let's see how many generations we need to go back. 1 through 7, if you, Marlene, could ask your heart to show you number 1 through 7.
5.
So it goes back 2 generations. And so 2 generations would be like 40 years ago. Does that take us into, that takes us into things like Vietnam? So there's something in the energetics around a couple generations ago, and if I'm doing that right, it would be 40 years ago. So that seems about right. And it would take a little bit of intuition to know really what's going on. That's why the family constellation could be a really good idea right now. But let's just take in the issue that there is something that is not resonating purely on that genetic level that goes back 40 years ago. And I suspect that there's something in the conflict of Vietnam, and we'd have to look at something that is on the matriarchal side. So let's continue and see what the unmet heart need is. Now, the unmet heart need would be the positive vibration that was not allowed to manifest itself because of this generational experience. So even though we may not know all the details of the generational experience, we can at least ask the heart to tell us, well, what is the thing that we need to get from that we need to shift and to change about that. Kathleen, can you ask your heart to show you number 1 through 44?
$14.
And 14 is the statement, freedom from confinement, which is exactly how we started the session. I was talking about freedom from confinement. So freedom from confinement goes back to every war, probably since the beginning, is that one tribe is impinging on the freedom of another. Mm-hmm. And let's see if there's a memory trigger, 1 through 15. Lisa Marie.
9.
And 9 is seasons. Does something come up about seasons for anybody?
Winter.
Winter. And how does winter look like in terms of world peace?
Rigid, cold, unmoving, silence.
If you go back to like the Revolutionary War and like World War II, you know, when the winter set in and the snow came in, everybody stopped fighting.
Yep.
So
it forced them to stop fighting them, which is good.
What's that? It forced them to stop fighting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what we need is perhaps a perpetual winter.
That That'd be interesting.
Yes. Laura, ask your heart to show you number 1 through 24 for the archetypal hero pattern. Laura, are you still there?
I am here.
Okay.
I'm listening.
1 through 24.
13.
So this is the pattern of 8-12-2. And let me just go through this because these hero patterns are archetypal. And it's saying that it's something that is happening on a global level. It's happening to the global community. And it's about the 8th house, which is that house of unresolved feelings from the past. And it's here where the hero, which is us, we may blame others or become greedy or seek power and control. And so the issue is for the hero or for humanity, we're being called to transform our desire for personal control over others into desires for the common good for the group. And I don't think that could be any better said than that. And so then in this pattern, it's saying, well, what is the thing that is keeping us from achieving that? And the obstacle is in the 12th house. So it's about dissolving old personality crystallizations. And that the ultimate challenge is to reunite with our true self by dissolving our sense of separateness or the sense of that we're a victim. And so we need to disentangle ourselves from these sort of these denials and blaming other people for our problems. So that can be a real big challenge for all of us. And fortunately, we have, in the 2nd house, we have a message from our heart in terms of how to do that. And so the action that we need to embrace is to release our worries and our anxieties about personal comfort and our preoccupation with having enough. Right? You know, this is we need to stop fighting over personal resources and our need to control. And to do that, we need to just strengthen our sense of self-worth and become mindful of the needs of others. So this is from the hero stages that Joseph Campbell talks about. This is the call to adventure. And I suppose that now is a better time than ever for humanity to embrace that call to adventure and to strengthen our sense of not only our self-worth, but again, being mindful of others. And so does anybody have like an idea of the story? How could we kind of wrap this up in terms of a couple sentences in terms of what the message has been today from our heart? And I'm going to start with what I was talking about, freedom from confinement. And since it came up again, I'm going to say that it's about freedom from confinement and honoring others' right to freedom from confinement and control. And that I think that we act from a place of scarcity.
Mm-hmm.
That we see that other people have resources and we're concerned that, well, if they have them, that we don't. Does anybody want to add anything to that? Does something strike you as something that needs to be added to that?
Well, just that I feel like we've been frozen or in this almost like a state of paralysis with all the trauma from the wars and
Yeah, one of the things about freedom from confinement is also the idea that came up in Brazil was in terms of slavery is that sometimes we also resonate with the need to be owned. And so we're talking, it's like almost we want to be owned by others, and we also want to own and control others. And so it starts to look like a feeding chain, you know? And so we have to perhaps get out of that idea that we need to be owned, that we're free to make decisions for ourselves. I mean, I feel like our government is waging war on other people, but that's not really representing me. So at what point do I say, well, wait a minute, that is, I'm not going to allow that. I'm not going to allow myself to be moved into action without my consent.
Well, and so Steve and I posted on the chat, there's so many people doing good and they're not being heard.
Right.
They're not being honored. And that's part of what our session is all about. You know, it's really, I know so many people that are doing good work, and, you know, it's like getting the message out that there's hope, but you don't hear it in the media. So truly we are silenced, those that are doing good work.
Right.
That is beautiful, because it came up in the obstacle, the I am silenced.
Right.
And this whole session is coming up from the throat chakra. So the opposite of I am silence would be what?
I am heard.
I'm heard. I speak the truth.
I am heard when I speak the truth.
Ah, there we go.
So we are heard when we speak
The heart's truth.
when we speak the heart's truth. So we can say this sort of on a global level, we are heard when we speak the heart's truth. And do we need to add anything about peace? We are heard when we speak the heart's truth about world peace.
And our leaders will follow their heart, will have, when they speak from their heart, they will be heard and followed.
And our leaders will what?
Well, we have to put in when they speak from their heart somehow, because, you know, they're being heard, but it's always the negative. It's like, where are the leaders that are saying the good things, and so that people will act and follow those people?
So we are heard when we speak the heart's truth about world peace, and our leaders will also speak the truth from their heart. How does that sound?
And then, well, I don't know, can you put in action when they speak that, you know, their heart's truth will lead to positive action? Can we put that in, or is that too long?
No, I don't think it can be too long. So, and our leaders will also speak the truth from their heart that leads to positive action.
Mm-hmm.
That works.
Okay, fantastic. So we need to check here, what is our global mind's resistance to this beautiful positive statement? We want to make sure that our mind is on board with what it is that we really want. Leanne, can you ask your heart to show you number 1 through 23?
18.
18 is the mind's belief that money is the root of all evil.
That's interesting.
Oh, that's right on.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay, so what do we have to say about that? Because it's real hard for us to really embrace our heart's truth and, you know, believing our world leaders will do all that when really subconsciously we're believing, well, that's not really possible because money is the root of all evil. And we
I
don't,
think that maybe, can you add maybe to the positive statement something in relation to the positive heart message?
yes?
That was something about prosperity flows through me. Something, can you repeat that?
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Around the positive action was,
No, the heart message, this is, what was it? Prosperity flows.
Prosperity flows.
prosperity flows through me.
Flows.
Right. So obviously we are not, there is part of us that are resonating with like an underneath loss and greed or something, right? So we could add a little bit more of that in the positive action. In the positive statement.
Yes, this is something that came up in Brazil, is that when the negative mind resistance comes up, and it looks like something that we really can't overcome, and it's really starting to impinge on our positive statement, we have just been taking that and then putting it back into the positive statement, but the positive aspect of the negative mind resistance. So it's a way of taking this negative mind resistance and overcoming it by putting it back into the positive statement. So thank you, Marilena, for that. So what we have is that we are heard when we speak the heart's truth about world peace, and our leaders also, I'm going to take out will because that seems futuristic. Our leaders also speak the truth from their heart that leads to positive action, and prosperity flows through us all. Anybody want to add to that? Change that in any way?
Kathleen here.
Okay.
There's something about, I don't, it's embracing that we have enough. That the prosperity, it's not so much prosperity, it's the gratitude for all that is enough for where I'm at, for somehow or another, rather than prosperity, because prosperity is like in the American mindset, it's like, well, we have to have a big house, we have to have all this. It's like, no, it's prosperity in the sense of I have gratitude for all that is and share that.
So could we substitute prosperity with personal resources? Because personal resources is really just, we have enough to get by, we have enough to be happy, that we don't have to take from others. I think that's what you were saying, Kathleen.
Yeah.
We are abundantly in our resources, so we feel comfortable and abundant. When you feel abundant, then you don't feel like you have to take maybe from others.
We live in abundance. How about we live in abundance?
Yes, we live in abundance.
And gratitude flows through all of us.
Yes, I just might want to point out one little thing, that the word prosperity is what triggered exactly that money is the root of all evil. We do have a big mind association with the word prosperity, and they're not the same.
Okay.
But that's what it triggers such a mind resistance.
And so if we, I just wrote this statement here, but I brought up to the top, we live in abundance, and gratitude flows through us all. Could we say that addresses this idea of prosperity just in different words?
Works better for me.
Okay.
Me too.
All right. So, Carolyn, could you ask your heart to show you number 1 through 22? Maria Elena, could you ask your heart to show you number 1 through 22?
12.
And 12 is, this is the throat chakra. 639 is the quantum healing code for the throat, and 741 is for the brow. Right. So it's like we're trying to move this whole idea of communicating, but communicating more through kind of like a higher consciousness, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I like that. So let's see. This one is both consonant and dissonant. Let's, I like it though, so let's do this with a figure 8.
Okay.
We'll listen to all this together. Is that coming through okay?
Yeah, there you go. Turn it, there you go.
And could you scroll the screen so we can see the positive statement?
Yes. And we need to check for the integration. Lisa Marie, 1 through 6.
6.
And 6 is to integrate this session. It says none, so that means that we're already very, very much integrated. And we just want to ask now for the last step for a positive action, 1 through 13. Laura.
Seven.
But we all need to connect to nature. So we all need to walk on grass. That's awesome.
Go walk on the earth we were just talking
We
about.
need to go walk on grass on the earth that we all inhabit together.
Okay.
Hi, Evelyn. I just noticed that you were on board.
Yeah, and can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
The last statement is something I use all the time in my circles, and it's something that I heard, that I learned years ago from my kinesiologist, which is to inhale, to breathe in the red energy from the earth when we are our feet on the grass or on the earth, and to send it all the way up, and then exhale, send it down to the hands. And it was channeled apparently from, I don't remember who it was, Pleiadians or something else. And he had tested a bunch of things. That was the only one that sounded true. And ever since I've used it, it's been healing and creating a lot of very positive effect. And apparently, if we because we are disconnected, the feminine and masculine energy are not balanced, and the electromagnetism of the earth is charged negatively, which neutralize the excess of mental energy and also the inflammations in the body. So it's essential, and if we don't do it, apparently, it's going to be hard to stay centered and to survive those difficult times. So I would say 100% yes to that.
And thank you for adding back the piece about the masculine and the feminine, because that came up in the ancestral. That there was an issue in that matriarchal. And so, yeah, we need to become more balanced in the feminine. So thank you for reminding us with that. So if you like, I'm going to email this to Scalar Heart Connection, and I'm happy to send copies to everyone. I think I have your email addresses. If not, please send it to me and I will send you a copy of the session. And fantastic. Well, this was really a lot of fun. I would like to do this more often.
Yes.
I mean, I'm just amazed at the things that come up. Yeah.
Very cool.
So, yeah, fantastic. Well, thank you. Does anybody have anything else to share? Yeah. Well, I'd like to do this again next month, and we'll just keep doing them until
We get world peace.
we have world peace, and the world news has nothing else to talk about except for fun things that are happening.
Yeah, like we're going to our dolphin trip in Hawaii together.
Yeah, so we're going to our dolphin trip, and 200,000 people we're all seen walking on the grass together.
So, and actually, Stephen, years ago, I went through a Quaker training, and one of the young Quakers there told me, statistically, compared to the population now and years ago, there is less war and violence. So a lot of what we're seeing is violence of our media that keeps getting fed to us. So that's why I brought in the people that are doing good work. Their voices are not being heard.
That's true.
Absolutely. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll see you all next time. Thank you.
Bye. It was good seeing everybody.
Bye,
Bye.
Stephen.
Bye.
And
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Evelyn.
Bye. How are you?
Bye.
I'm doing good.
Bye.
Bye.
Connect. We have to connect.
Yes, we do. All right.
I'll text you.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
And Stephen, you have a workshop coming when? In January or February in LA?